In this lecture, we will be talking about the various techniques of developing rapid reading skills. As you may recollect that in the previous lecture, we talked about what reading comprehension meant and how can we convert reading into reading comprehension, right? Now, as it has already been mentioned that reading is also one of the important skills. So there are various techniques which may be used in order to develop the spontaneity and the flow of reading. Now, when we are talking about reading, we primarily mean that we should be able to preserve the rhythm and the beauty of the language. And therefore, it is very important that we should try to enhance our way of, pronouncing, the way of looking at a text, because our concentration and the thought that is there in our mind when we look at a text directly influences our style and comprehension. All right. So as you can see it on the screen, that broadly we can classify the reading techniques under 5 various techniques or methods. One is vocabulary skills. Second is prediction technique. Third is skimming technique. Fourth is scanning technique. And fifth is intensive reading skills. So all these 5 skills help us in developing the right pace, pronunciation, and understanding of a text that we are reading. Now, it is also very important that we should, besides these techniques, try to develop certain good habits which will directly or indirectly influence our reading comprehension. Like, one is reading a variety of materials, that we should not just confine ourselves to reading only our course books, right? If we get accustomed to read various kinds of text, like some casual reading material like newspaper, magazines, then some academic text like you have your articles or some textbooks, all right? And likewise certain professional documents like you have the shareholders report or some particular report related to a particular project which was undertaken and has been accomplished. So if we develop this habit of reading, at least glancing different kinds of materials, then automatically our comprehension will be faster. Then another very important thing is we have a habit that we pick up only short texts so that it doesn't take much time and you get the gist and you feel like moving on. But that is not the right approach. We have to get used to reading short as well as long texts. So we should also train ourselves to maintain the level of concentration for even longer texts, okay? Because as you are progressing, you at the moment are a student and tomorrow you'll become a professional and you will be made to write reports or read certain reports and give your opinion. So if you will not get yourself accustomed to reading longer texts in shorter duration, then it will be very difficult for you to cope up with the task. Then next is to identify unfamiliar words as you read. Now, you are already aware of when you were younger and you were in school, at that time teachers would say that look into the dictionary and find the meaning of the difficult words, right? But now as we are advancing, and now your requirement of understanding a particular language or understand a particular text is also very different. So you just cannot, keep the textbook, or sorry, keep the dictionary next to you and look for the meanings simultaneously. Then your speed automatically will be hindered. You will get very slow in your reading. So therefore, why come to that stage where the words seem to be unfamiliar to you? So how will that be achieved? That can only be achieved if you will develop reading habit. All right. Why do we keep telling you, sorry, that try to develop reading habit? Because that helps you in getting familiarized with unfamiliar words, and that enriches your vocabulary. All right. Then recall information contained in a text and prepare a note. All right. Now, this is also one very important thing, that is note making, right? That is, first you read and then jot down points. So this will help you to deal with your professional exercise when you will be expected to do work and submit the document within a short span of time. Then it will be, this habit, if you develop, will be very handy. And finally, answer the questions to assess your comprehension skills. And then try to keep on, answering the small questions which are given at the back, or, you know, at many places you have certain exercises, language exercises, or there are some reading comprehension exercises after which you have certain questions to gauge how far have you been able to understand. So if you get, used to these, what do you call it, these habits, then automatically for you to develop the right tone, the right expression, and the confidence in reading a text will be amazing, right? So one very interesting thing is that reading is also measured, that is, we have word per minute, WPM. So obviously the reading speed, we do not expect you to have uniform for all kinds of texts. It varies. It depends on the kind and the purpose of the text that you are reading and what you have at the back of your mind to develop, to derive from that particular text, right? So generally for a non-English speaker like us, it is expected that in a minute we should be able to read at least 170 to 200 words. All right. Whereas for the native speakers, obviously the number goes much above 230, 35 and above that, right? But like, you have to keep in mind that all kinds of texts will not have the same reading rate. It will vary because your objective of reading that text is also different. All right. Now we will get back to the various techniques. You should understand that because these are some of the techniques on which you may be asked questions, and you will definitely need to pinpoint these features. First was vocabulary skills. That is primarily, how does that help? That a good vocabulary is essential for effective reading skills because it makes you recognize the words and the definitions or the content much faster. It, even if there is a certain strange word which you are not familiar, you will be able to guess the meaning by the way it has been placed in the sentence. All right. So this particular vocabulary skills helps you in inferring the meaning of the words which are not very familiar. So as a result, your pace of understanding, reading is quite fast, and therefore the vocabulary is one of the very important skill which you need to develop, and this cannot be done immediately, but over a period of time this store of knowledge related to vocabulary can be built. Then the second thing was prediction technique. As the term itself says, prediction means you'll be able to predict what is contained in that. You'll be able to guess what that particular document contains by looking at that. Here again, if you can recollect, we said that get used to reading longer and shorter texts because that helps you in predicting. You get familiar with the structure. So using index or chapter headings to predict the theme of the text, that helps you to understand it faster. Then guessing to predict information. That primarily means that you can at a much confident level be in a position to guess the information contained with the help of these markers. All right, that the words or the headings or the subheadings, they all help you in understanding. So automatically your comprehension gets faster. Then scanning graphs or non-verbal context such as graphs, diagrams, charts to predict the nature and scope of content. Now, prediction is not just merely of the written script, but also of the descriptive or the various images and graphs also you should be able to understand, because nowadays, with the advancement of technology, now we go more to the diagrammatic representation rather than giving descriptive details, right? So therefore, it is very necessary that you must get used to interpreting and analyzing the various charts and diagrams and graphs which help you in understanding and presenting the facts in a more impressive manner. All right. Then we've got this very important, these are very important skimming and scanning techniques. These are again the fast reading techniques, and they also are directly related to the kind of, kind of text you're reading and what is your intention. Like we talk about skimming. Skimming refers to the process of reading a text in order to get a rough idea of what the text or the passage is all about. It prepares the reader for detailed reading. So this is the first step where you just glance and get the idea. And an example of skimming, we can see that when you read a newspaper, all right, so you do not go into deep details of each and every information that is posted, but you pick. So before picking up and going deeper into it, first we do skimming, right? So there are certain steps which have been mentioned, that is read the title, read the introduction, because it always has a structure, and then read the first paragraph completely, and if there are subheadings, read each of them. So these are certain techniques which help you to skim a text. All right. Then you can also read the topic sentence. You are already familiar that the first line of a paragraph contains the main idea. Then if the author has the habit to explain with the help of anecdotes, read the last sentence which concludes the anecdote. So automatically you get the gist of the author's article or his point of view, right? And read the final paragraph quickly. This will help you to get the idea of the general information contained in that particular text, right? And this exercise is to be conducted at a very swift manner, in a very swift manner. You cannot delay or take a lot of time. So it has to be done fast, because primarily this helps you in three situations. That is pre-reading situation, when you want to know the details about the topic or a question, you skim through the text to make an idea, means to picking up, okay, before going deeper into it. Then second is for reviewing. In the same way, before reviewing, you can know what the book or the article is about. Like when you go to a bookshop and you want to buy a book to read during your journey, so you do not go deeper into each and every page, but rather flip to the last page and pick the first page and you're able to get it. So that is skimming. And then Another very important thing, in material contained you don't want to know, then you do not even waste time. So it is easier for you to, pick and reject. What you want, you can do it immediately, or you can reject. So that time lag or the respect for time is also observed when we are doing or we develop the skimming habit. Second is scanning. Scanning is going deeper into it. It is to locate a specific information or a fact as quickly as possible. It basically helps you in primarily, getting the exact information, right? First you have skimmed, you got the idea of the entire text and the location and the idea. If you're interested, you do take it for reading, otherwise you drop it. Then if you have finally taken it, then you skim through it. So a reader concentrates and then improves his visual perception and tries to answer or accomplish the objective, that is to identify or get the main idea which you have in mind by developing this skill. So how does it go about? It goes about that leave the question in the mind and read only to find the answers to it. Ignore the details. So once you've skimmed, you know what is the structure, and then you just jump into that part of the text which contains the information. Then think of the hints that you may look for to get your answer. These clues or hints can be dates, italics, subheadings, or numbers. All right. And see the headings of the books and articles and chapters. They may show where a particular information can be found. Because if you are in a habit of keeping yourself acquainted with the various kinds of text, you know, like in a newspaper, first is only where did it happen. Then second is what did the government do. Then third paragraph tells you that now what is going to be the future plan of action. So you know, if you have to answer, you have to pick up the answer, where exactly will that be located. Okay, and then make a selective reading, skip the portion you think are not useful to you. If you go into detail each and everything, then it will take very long. Remember, these all are fast reading techniques. They are not slow reading techniques. So fast means you have to be very selective. You have to be perfect in locating the right answer, and you have to have tremendous amount of concentration. All right. Then only will you be able to do it. Then we also have, you have intensive reading skills. Now this is primarily, there was another one, that is extensive reading and intensive reading. It is something akin to skimming and scanning, but intensive is definitely is lot deeper and much more rigorous. All right. And this primarily helps you to develop certain opinions related to that particular text. Like critically read a text to distinguish facts from opinions, identify and evaluate a writer's attitude, and understand the author's intention. It also assists in drawing inferences and conclusions. So till now, skimming and scanning were giving us the idea of the content. But this further helps us to further critically evaluate, to critically analyze what is the actual opinion or the approach of the author. So this is primarily going deeper into the reading of a text, right? It definitely is time consuming, but definitely it's not that time consuming that a person may not keep a track of the time. It depends on, again, the intention of the reader and also the kind of text you are reading. All right. So in this particular introduction, I have talked to you about the various fast reading techniques, because after all, reading skills can only be developed if we develop in ourselves certain habits. And these habits are in the form of various techniques. And if we develop them, we will be a good reader, a good speaker, a good communicator. All right. So I hope you have understood the important techniques, right? And there are certain, you can see it on the screen, certain comprehension exercises. So kindly answer them and try to gauge for yourself that have you been able to understand the content or not. Thank you.